Hello, welcome to another Watch It Play question and answer show. The show where I, with a bunch of your help, endeavour to answer all of the internet's burning board game questions. The first question we have this month, you better believe, is what are everyone's surprise hits of the year? Surprise hits of the year. So this isn't games that we knew were going to be good or games that we knew we were going to really enjoy. The games that you didn't realise were going to punch you in the face and go, buy me, this is good. Those ones, those surprise hits, the ones that none of us were expecting. Like, I can't call a Duel for Middle-earth surprise hit because it's 90% Seven Wonders Duel, and I knew I was going to like it because I love Seven Wonders Duel. But I do have some games that kind of took me by surprise. The first one is River of Gold, which it's here. Was not just quality board game content. That's what you've tuned into. River of Gold is a Euro game which is kind of dice driven. You've got a dice you roll and you're trying to sail up and down the River of Gold to get into these different markets, to do actions, build buildings, trade goods, deliver stuff and get cards which are going to boost up your abilities, all in aid of getting points and resources. The reason this is such a big surprise was because Office Dog Games, who are they? Never, what? They're who? And then I looked at the game and you see the board, incredible production, 10 out of 10. Great price point. Don't know when we talk about price point. This is for the production value to price point. Excellent. And it's such a streamlined, fun, interactive, very interactive game. It's just wonderful. It's got just enough meanness to it, but it's excellent. River of Gold took me by surprise because it's an excellent board game. The next one is a completely different, other than the production. This is Compile. Compile, again, has incredible production. This is a 2-player back and forth card game, which is something I quite like. But again, this took me by surprise because it just came out of nowhere. I watched a review for it by Eric Martin on Board Game Geek, and I was at Essence. I was like, I'm going to go buy this game. Well, we tried it first, and I thought, I'm going to buy this. It just took me by such surprise with how it's a 2-player dueling card game of trying to get majorities in different columns, essentially. And you've got a bunch of decks, and you draft the decks first, and each deck kind of acts in a different way to this same end goal. It's a wonderful little back and forth card game. They did not bring enough expansion packs to the convention. They were sold out. It's just an amazing back and forth card game, which just surprised me so much because I was like, this kind of feels almost like a TCG card game, even though it's numbers and abilities kind of card game. It's just wonderful, just wonderful. And the final game that really surprised me this year was a game called War Story Occupied France, which again is just there, but I'll bring it up. War Story Occupied France is not what I enjoy in board games. It's just not. I'm not a big, you may not have noticed this, but I'm not a big narrative board gamer. I kind of don't care. I don't normally want to read the story. I don't want to read the flavor text. I want to play the game and enjoy that. However, that is not what War Story Occupied France is about. It's literally a choose your own adventure game. And then you have these kind of forced combat experiences that happen within the game as well. And you better believe that the choices you have previously made will drastically alter what happens in the combat.
Break her legs.
So we can try to persuade her.
Sorry, I mean twist her arm. I apologize, yes.
Try to persuade or otherwise.
The story in this game is emotional. It's gut-wrenching. It's tense and scary. The decisions you make have you go off on lots of different paths. And one of the main resources you have is time. You know, the Germans are coming over this hill on this day, and that's going to happen. And how much can you prepare before that happens? You have different stats on your cards. It truly is a game. That's very important about this one. It's not just to pick your own adventure and see what silly thing happens. It really is a game. You have resources to spend, and the thing I love in the games is decisions. Every decision you make in this game is life and death. That was a surprise. What have been your biggest surprises, your surprise hits of the year? Games that you weren't interested in, that you didn't think you'd like, games that just you didn't know were coming, and that you just went, wow, what a great hit, what a game, what's something I loved. What were your hits? What were your big surprises this year? And I'll look in the comments and then I'll probably start researching all those games and have more issues to deal with later on. For now, here is a sponsor message from the first sponsor who, in part, helped make this episode possible.
You know what makes me happy? Well, Heavenly Hash ice cream. You know what else makes me happy? Getting board game expansion content to fit back inside the main game box, especially if I can do it in style. And Folded Space is here to help. They have an entire line of custom inserts, and I'm going to give you an example with this one for Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is an officially licensed and updated version they created to contain both the base game and the Expedition Leaders expansion. If you have the missing Expedition expansion, although this won't fit all of its extra boards and campaign content, its standard cards and components will also fit in here, and the cover still closes flush. As you can see, the modular nature of the insert means you can pop the sections out and play straight from them. In fact, many are designed to be placed directly on the game's boards, and because of the colorful printing on their sides, they blend right in. I'm also a big fan of the icons you'll find inside the different sections to remind you where the different pieces go. This is a big convenience when you have a game with so many different components. The entire product is packaged as 3 boards that punch out easily to ensure there's no damage to the edges. You then assemble the pieces using the Clear to Follow guide. All you need is a bit of PVA glue and you'll have it put together in no time. It's not always easy getting help packing up a game after it's over, and even if you do get help, people find creative ways to do it wrong. But with this set, people will both want to help, and the visual guides means that even your friend Bob won't have trouble figuring out where things need to go. And this is just one of their inserts. They have over 170 more, with new ones being added all the time. To pick up this insert, or one or several of their others, go to foldedspace.net, which is also linked in the description of this video. Or in the US, you can also find them at Miniature Market and at Board Game Bliss in Canada.
All right, question 2. Ooh, it's a good one. Isn't December and January too early to say what the best game of the past year was? I'm still playing games from 2023. You can have a favorite game of the year anytime. You can play a game in January and say, this is my favorite game of the year so far. Do you have a definitive answer to the question? No. But you've got one. You've got an answer to the question. It doesn't make it any less true. The thing is, right, is I understand content creators need to produce content. You know what content gets the best views? Top 10 lists. And you know why? It's because people watch them. If people didn't watch them, people would not make them. That is just one of the most fundamental dichotomies. If people didn't watch them, people wouldn't make them. So a lot of people feel that top 10 lists and top 10s which are best of, well actually top 10s that are worst of, those do the best. But top 10s of the year, that's going to probably be that content creator's best video of the year. Is January or December too early to tell? Of course it is. No one has played all of the games. But I would also argue, well, I'll argue with anyone for anything. You don't need to have played every game to know what your favourite games of the year are. Look, there are, let's say 5,000 games come out in a year. It's a lot of games. Everyone goes, well, how could you know what the best one of the year is? You haven't played all of them. Yeah, and I don't need to play all of them. I've ruled out 90% of these games because I probably know I'm not going to be that interested in it. Yes, you're going to get these special hidden gems. That's why I spoke about that first. Those games, that's why I ordered the questions this way, thinking. Those games sometimes do pop up. Was I interested in War Story to start off with? No, but I played it and yes, it surprised me huge, massively excitement, and it's amazing and I think it's fantastic. We don't have to play all the games to know what games your favourites of the year were, which is all you're saying, right? And you also don't have to play all the games to know that I'm probably not going to like that game, so I won't play it. We do this with everything. What are your top 10 meals of the year? Yeah, but you didn't eat this. I don't like that. Yeah, but it could have been amazing. Yeah, it could have been. I don't like that. I don't like cheese. So I didn't eat that. So that's not going to make it into my top 10 meals of the year. But you ruled it out before you knew anything about it or you played it. Yeah, I don't like cheese. I don't like it. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You know, top 10 games of the year, best games of the year, in my opinion. Those titles are always too short. Top 10 games of the year, in my opinion. I understand, right, when everyone says, but you didn't play this, and this is my favourite game of the year, and I want validation. I feel that way. It's like, but you didn't play this game, and that's my favourite game of the year, and maybe that could have made your list, and that would prove me right. I feel that all the time. I do think one thing that is really important to know about opinion-based lists, or on any topic, not just board games, it really should say, especially for board games, right? Top 10 games, top 10, let's say, tile placement games, at the moment, could be the end of everyone. For me now, at the moment, these are my top 10 tile placement games. It's not quite as catchy a title, is it? But that's what it is. For this, every list video for board games is a snapshot in time. That's why people's like top 10 games of all time changes from year to year. But you said this was your top game of all time and now it's not on the list. It's like, yeah, because my tastes have changed and this game came out. Have you played it? It's great. It kind of makes that game completely null and void. I do like it though when people come out later in the year, like in June and July, or even at the end of the next year and say, hey, now I've played all the games I was probably interested in from 2 years ago at this point. These is my top 10 of 2024. Now it's almost 2026. Those are really useful lists as well. I've got my top 10 of the year. I wrote it down. I'm not going to make the video, but I did write it down. Probably trying to avoid doing something I needed to do. I stand by it. And for now, it's true. But who knows if it'll be true in tomorrow. And we finish with what has to be the most popular question in board game conversation. And that's, was 2024 a good year for games? Did you play a lot of games from this year that you enjoyed or not? For me, 2024, fantastic year for games. I don't really think, I've always said this, there are no bad years for games. There's too many games that come out at too high a quality for there to be a bad year for games. But it's such an opinion-based question that you have to answer for yourself. Oh, was it a good year for games? You tell me. Did you play a bunch of games that you enjoy or didn't you? If you didn't, then it wasn't. If you did, then it was. That's it. That's the whole question. It's not really a question that anyone else can answer for you. I feel like people ask these questions because they want validation of their friends and of other people of their opinion, right? I didn't think it was. You tell me, did you think it was? You didn't? Oh, good. We're in agreement. I'm right because we're both now right. But it's so personal of a question. Was it a good year for games or not? I don't know. Yeah, for me, I loved it. But what I need from a year is not 65 games that I buy that I now own because they're incredible. I actually don't need that. I need about 10. 10 good games. That's great for me. Oh, but then I went on to Board Game Geek, didn't I? And I looked at the numbers, the statistics, empirical data. Was 2024 a good year for games or not? Well, let's find out. So far, at the time of recording this, there are no games from 2024 in the top 100 games, which I found interesting. But what I found even more surprising was, at the time of recording this, there are only 14 games from 2024 that are in the top 1,000 on Board Game Geek. Now, that's intriguing. That did take me by surprise. Now, the big reason for this a lot of the time is because most people haven't played all the games in 2024, right? What we've been talking about before. Who's got the time to play all the new games? And then, it takes time for the reviews to come in from the Board Game Geek users. There's a lot of games that I want to buy and play that are 2024 games I haven't been able to even get my hands on yet. Because they're out, but they're not out. But I thought 14 games only in the top 100, I felt that was low. I wish I could find out how it compares to last year. How many games in 2023 were in the top 1,000 this time last year, for instance. But that seemed low. Is that an indicator of a good or a bad year? Who knows? And in the fullness of time, how many of those games will be in the top 100? How many games in 2024 will be classics in 10 years? in 20 years that we'll still be playing. That's kind of a measure of if it was it a good year or not, I think. How many games from this year will stand the test of time? So asking was this year a good year for board games is very difficult. I think the better question is, was 2014 a good year for board games? Because we've had the fullness of time to play out. I think we'll only know the answer of 2024 being a good or a bad year in 2034. That being said, 2024, I played some great games, so I had a good time. That's great with me. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. If you've got any answers to any of the questions that have been posed this month, put them in the comments and we can have a conversation down there and we can see where I was wrong. Crazy, surely not. Or where I was right and what your opinions are. What games do you think was a good year? What games surprised you? All those types of things. I'd love to see those below. But until next time, everyone, have a fantastic end of your year. And I'll see you next month. Bye, everyone.